about America and democracy. There is no America. There is no democracy. We no longer live in a world of nations and ideologies. The world is a college of corporations, inexorably determined by the immutable bylaws of business. The world is a business. And I have chosen you to preach this evangel.
For all my free market healthcare robbing, stock stealing, retirement fund fucking with niggas. Fuck you little credit card scamming, jewelry stealing, crack selling, liquor store robbing motherfuckers. Shout to the homies, Carnegie, OG, Willie Randolph Hearst, Baruch, Rockefeller, the real Rockefeller, my main bitch Leona, pour out a little Louis XIII, Scott Rothstein, Jack Abramoff, hold your head, my Rothschild niggas, let's get this money. I spend my day pepping America overseas, pension for the workers, nigga please, embezzlement, etiquette, private settlement, I'm better with Confederate rhetoric from my mansion in Connecticut, foreclosed of it, closed out the tenement, I twist words like a speech impediment, I hope you got good credit bitch, if not better get a new job with benefits, while I play golf with niggas and get cheddar with, new money buys brand new carrots, my old money bunch of great grandparents, you got grills in your mouth, I ain't mad at ya, I own every gold mine in South Africa. Thanks, baby, you made me $1 billion. Plus, I own a building for each one of my children's children.
Welcome, everybody, to Voice Rebellion Radio. This is your host, Chris J, here with Beepa Schultz. Tonight, we are talking about Trump and all views on Trump and what is actually manifested out of the Trump administration was next for America and a few other topics. The first thing I'm going to go down to is like, this is one of the most, I guess it's for some people it's a start. People it's welcoming. I find it somewhat welcoming, the idea that maybe there might be direct talks between us and what's one of the worst, I guess you could say, threats point. But North Korea and Trump are going to meet directly. I should say directly.
Will you Korea?
I don't know about all that. I mean, there's a reason why. The big question that should be answered whenever we're talking about the.
Don't forget the tariff war thing that he's starting with Europe and China as well.
Well, yeah, that's also big news as well. I mean, I guess there's the we could be potentially going to an actual war, and I guess it looks like a tariff war with two different countries.
I don't think we're going to actually go to war with North Korea.
I don't think so either. But anyways, North Korea and America went to war. North Korea is probably pummeled. I mean, most of the weapons are pretty archaic and are from like the 1960s and 70s. They were given them by the Soviet way back. I mean, that's like all the rockets you see them shooting up for like 1960s Soviet technology. But I still find it interesting. Kim Jong-un and Trump meeting directly. That has never happened. They sit in the United States president meeting a North Korean leader.
In like 4 months ago, Trump was calling him Rocket Man.
I was thinking, what if you start doing the game plan in the room with Kim?
He's going to do that.
Oh no, Trump got this great idea show like drunk on the national television.
Well, that's only a good threat.
It's just going to be like, by the way, Kim, I would like to give you a gift. Pulled out a collage, so they shoot him right in the head on TV, on international TV. Trump. I think Trump's probably going to really alternate. I don't think that they're going to go too well if it does happen, and I do say if because apparently there are some like stipulations that have to be met. One of the stipulations is like North Korea has to adhere to their denuclearization somewhat. And if North Korea doesn't do that, apparently Trump's in the meeting's off. And I don't know, it's definitely an unorthodox way of handling things, something that we have not seen from a United States president ever. We have had U.S. presidents visited North Korea and visited their leaders. For example, Bill Clinton visited Kim Jong-il in 2009, 9 years after he was in office. And Jimmy Carter met Kim Il-sung about 20 years after he was in office in 1994. Well, not 20 years, about 14 years. Oh, that sound effect.
Nothing. Continue.
Well, and by the way, yes, if you hear some random noises in the background, that's good. We have our we got our sound effect. Yeah, we got you could say the sound guy as well. And we're gonna have visuals for you. We're trying to broadcast.
Oh shit! Mistake.
Well, yeah, we're gonna. I don't know what that has anything to do with what I was gonna say, but broadcasting on YouTube Live on Sunday night. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have there's all the graphics, all the funny memes we're looking at, all the kind of statistics and websites and everything that you need.
Hopefully, our own studio too soon.
Well, we're gonna be potentially next week when the mic gets in. We're gonna be improving on the audio quality significantly. But I'm while you're watching at home. And if you listen at UCY.tv, you can, of course, go to UCY TV, watch all the other shit, but just keep in mind, if you want to have the visual experience, it'll be on YouTube. But UCY.tv, definitely go there for all the news and all the other great sites. And Jules, the owner, actually, and it's pretty good. It's not hastily put together like we actually have like some topics that we have decided what we're going to do, and so we're having a little bit of bugs. It's apparently our sound
director.
Our sound director. He's new. It's his first day on the job. Don't blame him. But
it was an ad on my phone.
Oh, I thought that was one of the sounds. Okay.
No.
I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff on this thing. And the heck? It was LeBron James. What the heck is that? I don't think they could even hear that, but that was like, it's just some like guys and LeBron James. What kind of accent even is that? Is that like a
ghetto black accent, I guess?
It sounds like a ghetto black accent mixed with like a redneck accent, though, to be honest. Is it bad that I know exactly the meme that's from?
Yeah.
But it's from the battle meme, where it's like where the guys are like reacting this. I really like watched the entire video. That's pretty funny stuff. But with Trump, we've seen a more polarized America than ever. Right, has been splintered, and now we have this very strong on both sides of the country. As we saw, we have, I should say, the extreme left, the Antifa, and some people have countered it, but you have people like I really like saying it. I guess alt-right would be one term for Richard. Now, I'm starting to realize everyone's still doing like they're, right? Something about what their platform is. I've seen this. I've noticed their platform. Like little Muslims have done that, but they're no problem. And apparently, the root of the problem is cat. I know we're putting memes on the show. We're bringing memes from 2000. I mean, I still remember when that was the top. Like,
I'll switch it to something else then.
We're gonna put a modern meme.
Yeah, something similar.
What's the modern meme?
Nothing modern. I guess it's just something that would be related to this topic. Continue on. Go on.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know what when it comes to the division in America between left and right, between the alt-right and between, like, I guess you could say the social justice warriors, Antifa, that type of thing. Do you see it getting better? Do you see it getting worse? Do you see the division ever being the division, more unity comes to the country, maybe with more time, maybe with the shock of the election, more rearview mirror, I think we're going to somehow go to like a civil war or something because of the division of this country.
America's too late for civil war.
Yeah, and that's probably the pollen. It's probably But no, the division in this country though is definitely seemed to have severe. I mean, we have seen a couple clashes, which I know they were like really blown up by the media. They tried Civil War II, Electric Boogaloo, but in like Charlottesville didn't really amount to anything. There was that one person was killed, unfortunately, in Charlottesville, and then there's been a couple of similar events, I guess. Remember Berkeley, and do you agree? Do you think that the media has shown a bias towards the Antifa, or because some people would argue that they haven't, some people would argue that they have?
Well, it depends which media you're speaking of.
Well, I'm talking about general mainstream media. I'm talking about
I would.
CNN, Washington Post.
They were kind of glorified after the whole Charlottesville thing anyway, so yeah, I'd say so. CNN did a few good articles on them as well.
Well, yeah, I know that in CNN, I mean, that's the thing is that, of course, I mean, like when I'm talking about the mainstream media, I mean, of course, there's going to be like the differences between CNN and like Fox. Of course, Fox is not like supporting Antifa. But then again, Fox has done their own, it's their own poison, and they've contributed to division as well. I would say that, for example, the people that really, Fox still has made nationalists seem like a toxic movement. They pretty much made their own neocon propaganda.
Yeah.
While CNN and MSNBC is pushing the neoliberal agenda. Ultimately, it's still two sides of the same oligarchy corporatist coin that we're looking at here, and so that's pretty much how it works. Is that a lot of this like making the false opposition? Like right now, if there were during the Obama administration, there was the opposition that came from like the Tea Party and the Republicans, but ultimately they're still playing ball. Well, I won't consider it true opposition until somebody starts calling out the real people that are causing the problems: the Federal Reserve, the Rothschild family, the
international banking system in general.
Pretty much, yeah. Ultimately, it comes down to it. But that and I would say political Zionism ultimately is what is a result of the.
You anti-Semite! How fucking dare you!
How fucking dare I? I'm just stating the facts. Okay, let me ask a question, Beavis.
Yeah.
Okay. When's the last time have you heard a politician in Washington D.C. call out the genocide that's being committed by Israel against the Palestinian people?
The who people?
The Palestinian people.
They're from like Dr. Seuss or something, right?
They're from where? Dr. Seuss, you're saying? You talk about the people that are from that it belongs to. Honestly, I believe in a one-state solution that is Palestine being Palestine there, because their land was stolen from them. But when's the last time you've heard anybody criticize any of that? And not just in our country. Let's go to the United Kingdom. Remember when Ken Livingstone?
Well, I mean, they can't really, because the moment like people call out Israel for doing bad, horrible things like they're doing to the Palestinian people, they scream the Holocaust. They scream 6 million, the genocide. Oh, anti-Semitism, and they no one really opposes it because, well, it's just kind of one of those things that get drilled in your brain. So we're just like, okay, we don't want to be those guys, so we'll do what you say, Bill.
Exactly. I mean, that's they put a lot of guilt on, I guess you could say, Western countries, and a lot of that, if you look at it, it's this guilt complex that they've set on Americans, that we're like, we owe them like our lives, that we have to be responsible for them all the time, and despite the fact that Israel, they've gotten themselves into their own problems. They try to make it seem like, oh, the Middle East hates us. The Middle East hates us because we're Jewish. No, that's not the reason why they hate you. The reason they hate you is because you stole, you stole land in the first place. You killed 5 million Palestinians, and they bombed other countries. Remember, in Egypt in 1967, they bombed hospitals. They bombed all kinds of civilian areas.
They bombed a lot. They've been meddling with the Syrian conflict too.
And they bombed many targets in Syria. And no one talks about it. They've talked about, how long did we hear about the Russians going into Syria to actually, when they were invited in? No one fucking invited Tel Aviv war, but they go in there anyways, bomb targets all the time.
They're the ones who are actually liberating it.
The Russians, yeah, the Russians, the ones that have been liberating Aleppo. They're going to liberate East Ghouta.
Our country is doing a mess. We're just giving everyone weapons. We don't even care who they are at this point. I'm just like, all right, you guys don't like those guys? Here, have some guns.
Well, yeah.
Have a bunch of guns.
I would say, though, there is a method to America's madness and just keeping everything destabilized. Because it's like, at one point, it's another sport, Syrian rebel, another point, else supported ISIS. And ISIS didn't come out of nowhere. And America's got 100% behind it, including the Israeli government, the United Western brought them up with just a Syrian opposition group. Then they ended up turning into an evil terrorist group, and then also going to do something about it. But ultimately, they knew from the beginning that they were giving guns to radical types. They knew what they were doing. And ISIS, I think, was 100% at different points. Maybe not totally, but Saudi government has been directly giving them arms. It's been proven, and the Israeli government has been also giving them aid in the form of a lot of times when they get health care, where they go to Israel. And I know it sounds crazy, ISIS soldiers in Israeli hospitals, but look up for yourself. There's actually been Salafist, Takfiri type groups, Islamic extremist groups that have been getting aid from Israel because they hate Iran and Syria and that axis, which truly is the only axis in the Middle East that still actually opposes them at this point, that they're willing to do anything to destabilize them. There's even Israeli politicians have said on TV that, I don't know if they said it on TV, but they did say it that that they'd rather have ISIS in the region than Iran. So that really shows where their priorities are at. And it's, again, another thing that we've seen. This is not a new thing. Israel back in the 1950s activated terrorist groups against American soldiers just because they didn't like that we were getting cozy with Gamal Nasser, who they eventually went to war with. Because Gamal Nasser was very anti-Israel, and Eisenhower was starting to get cozy with him. And they actually activated a terror group against American soldiers. It's called the Lavon Affair. They actually bombed an American ship known as USS Liberty, and we're going to blame it on Egypt. That was and there was actually plans that in the United States government they were going to actually nuke Cairo. It probably would have been the start of World War III, but we narrowly avoided it. And and this is most of the people on the ship that survived will tell you the same story. I mean, 6 of the survivors on the show. I think 5 of the survivors on the show. It's been a while, though. It's been over 2 years since I've had on the show, but check out the shows if you haven't yet. I'm going to move on to the next topic, though. Some people say that...
we should talk about the tariff thing really badly. I think that's pretty important.
Yeah, the tariff thing. Okay, so, I mean, this seems to be...
I think that's a good thing for America, in my opinion.
But the problem is tariffs lead to tariff wars. And the problem is that ultimately the end the tariff war. Also, tariffs are, I don't know, it's a risky move, especially, it depends who we put them on. I think, doing this against China, I don't think it's really for the good of the American people. It's a posturing towards the war. I mean, remember, the war against Japan started the same way, is that Japan, we put sanctions on them, and then ultimately, which were practically like, I'd say sanctions are the first act of war that you can do to a country, and tariff, it seems to be kind of a similar measure. I don't know. I hope this is not him, trying to antagonize China. I don't, because I've seen that Trump made a lot of means of China, and like you said, he does a lot of. If you know what's the point where you should add your sound effect, Ryan. I'm gonna wait for you to put the sound effect just because it's now finally we got to a point where it's like appropriate.
All right. I'm looking for it. Continue to talk anyway.
Well, yeah, I'll stay on China so at least relevant. The Chinese government, I said they're very China. Finally,
there it is.
The Chinese government have been China kind of picking both sides of they've kind of worked with Russia and America. That's awesome. That's awesome. And folks, this has been brought to you by
Soviet Union. God bless.
Soviet Union. always in our hearts. But going on is that Trump. I know Trump actually. That was the thing, though, is that Trump was actually being like too friendly to China. People were them and say, "Hey, what's this? You're so tough China for months and months leading up to the election, and then you actually get there, you're just he's eating chocolate cake with the Chinese president." But China's it's a good thing that we're going to, if we actually do value our American economy. I'm mixed on the tariffs, to be honest. I'm worried what it could lead to, but I know that we need to do something about.
The one thing about the tariffs is like, I think we're a pretty self-sufficient country. Like, we don't really rely that much on the EU, nor do we rely heavily on China, because we have our own oil fields and stuff. We have like our own steel here, while like places like Germany, they have to get gas from Russia, example. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they're not self-reliant at all in Western Europe.
No, and I don't think China's that super self-reliant, and most of like that Europe and I guess Asia. I mean, I'm probably kind of talking out my ass at this point, but most of the oil comes from either, I think, Russia and the Middle East, right? Maybe Africa.
Well, oil is coming from a lot different places. For example,
the most oil, the ones where it's mostly being sold, like Saudi Arabia and stuff like that, right?
Saudi has a giant oil reserves, but who actually has a bigger oil reserves in Saudi Arabia? Venezuela has a bigger oil reserves, and I wonder why. We have taken such an issue with Venezuela when they have more fucking oil than Saudi Arabia, but they're not our friends, so it doesn't really exactly work that way where we can just get all the oil we want from them. But here's a little statistic I brought up on this. I brought this up. It says FDA's. Let's see. It says given that an estimated 15% of U.S. food supply is imported, so 15%. It says 50% of all our fruits are imported. Okay. So that's a lot right there. But that's coming from a lot of South American countries. 20% of fresh vegetables and 80% of seafood. It's coming imported. So I don't know if we're so self-reliant. Let's look also at our gas, because our gas, we're definitely not. That is not true that we're self-reliant on the gas. I'm pretty sure we import most of it from the Middle East. We do have our own gas, but we don't use too much of it. I think we export a lot of it, and it doesn't really wouldn't make up for like all the Americans that have that need gas. But let's see, gas import stats for America, and see what they comes up for. Well, So this is actually from some government website, and U.S. Energy. This is from the U.S. Energy Information Administration. So this is what they're saying: is that 34% of all our gross imports from petroleum are coming from OPEC countries. Persian Gulf countries, 18% of our oil is coming from there. And these are our top 5 countries. I did not know this. Look who's our number 1 country we import from.
Canada, yeah, but they're like a vassal state.
They're the 51st state.
Yeah, they're pretty much a bitch state.
Saudi Arabia 11, Venezuela. Believe it or not, even though we're not friends with them, we import 8% of our oil from them. Mexico 7%. They're not the 51st state though. Mexico is actually kind of independent, as we've seen. They don't necessarily always agree with us. And then Colombia 5%. Okay. So here's the thing: is that America. I mean, you talk about the EU and China. This doesn't really affect us. None of these countries are in the EU. None of these countries are. But Venezuela is aligned with China, so that's one thing. And they're the 3rd top producer. Saudi Arabia, they nothing really to worry about there. Mexico and Colombia, they're really good friends right now. But Mexico might be actually changing. They're starting to get pretty tired of their current leadership, and they're actually a nationalist. A nationalist. I'm not gonna say. I was gonna say nationalist socialist, but no, it's not like that. Every time I say he's a nationalist who, like socialism as an economic model, Manuel Obrador is currently leading their race, and if he wins there, definitely the relationship between Mexico and America is going to dramatically change. So is the relationship between Mexico and the rest of the world. But Mexico has been a pretty much, let's just face it, bitch state for 100 years of America, and the bankers, they were under a very corrupt regime for 71 years, one-party rule, and it's pretty much set up the era of politics today.
Well, we're thinking that the EU might last forever, but we don't even know how long it's going to be. Like, with the new Italian government, which might take power, I'm not sure if that one fascist group won or not.
Well, I think he wasn't really a fascist, I don't think. I think he was more like...
The leader that was friends with them friends with those very fascist groups.
Very fascist groups.
Yeah, and those very fascist groups kind of like Russia a lot, and they want to do trade with Russia and not the EU.
Well, here's the thing: is
that could damage the EU a bit, right?
Oh yeah, it would definitely. Every country that starts picking people that are pro-Russia is going to damage the EU, because that's the clash right there. Russia versus the EU is like the dilemma of Europe, and that's like what a lot of countries are having to decide. And a lot of countries are like, hey, we get 90% of our fucking oil from those guys. How about we be friends with them and not be friends as a country all the way over the Atlantic that can't really help us right now? Also, that what else has the EU created is that the EU has to be friends with Saudi Arabia. They have to be friends with. It's also led to the disastrous immigration policy that we've seen in Europe. That's the EU has its fingerprints all over that. So of course I could see why you want to leave the fucking EU. And yeah, he won. It looks like.
Oh, he did?
This is what it's saying. It says he won 265 and 137 seats in our two houses of parliament. Nobody else won as much as that. It looks like he won. And it's in the center-right, Matteo Salvini emerges the main political force and won a polarity of seats in the Chamber of Deputies and in the Senate, while the anti-establishment Five Star Movement led by Luigi Di Maio became the party with the largest number of votes, and the center-left coalition led by the Prime Minister Matteo Renzi came third. However, no political group has won outright. So they're in a hung parliament. So they won, but they didn't win. It's that they're going to have to make like they're going to have to make a bigger coalition with somebody else, in order to actually govern. But at the moment, they have the most votes, so they're the ones that are most likely to make probably a coalition, because the Five Star Movement's the next one, and they have quite a bit less seats in them. I mean, but here's the thing: is that the party's name is called League. That we're talking about, the one in Lega Nord. We went over this last time. They're not really. They're a populist. They are they're definitely nationalist, I guess you could say, and anti-globalist to an extent. I don't know if you would say fasci. That's maybe a little bit of a stretch. And also, whatever the media says is fasci, that's not necessarily the case. I mean, if you read the media, and strictly the media, you believe National Front in France is like the new National Socialist Party in Europe or something like that. But it's not true. They're just a conservative party that believes that France's issues are France's issues, and they shouldn't have to be worried about their reliance on their countries. But this party that guy won, he is friends with the National Front, Geert Wilder's party. Even though I don't really like Geert Wilder, I think of him to be kind of a clown. But the fact that he is friends with National Front's a good sign, because that right there, the National Front has been, I would say, maybe the most prominent nationalist party in Europe. Which comes to think about it, is that is that there's definitely is a surge in Europe of nationalism, and people are. What do you think has finally put Europeans in some of these countries over the edge, like in Italy? Something's finally changed where they're now no longer afraid to vote in these type of people, when European left pretty much ruled Europe for the last 20 years or so, and the specter, even the idea of voting in someone that was kind of on the right side of politics to this extent would be that'd be very taboo not that long ago. What do you think has set people over the edge?
I would say, well, one is definitely the immigration policy for sure. It's just such asshole. Italy is the front lines where most of these migrants come from too. So they're just getting poured in with these people, which is creating horrible economic issues, obviously. There's lack of good leadership within the Italian government and the EU in general, because their government can't really do much when they're in the EU, and the EU isn't really helping either. It's it's falling apart left and right, and it doesn't know what the fuck to do about that. What's another good issue?
I think a lot of is this Cold War that the EU's pushed with Russia.
Yeah, that too.
Is that they don't want that. They want to just want to be friends, and they definitely want to. They'd rather work have business relations with Russia.
You already had a Cold War once, not again.
Yeah, they're tired of it. The Europeans are at the front line of this, and we're living in the fear of the nuclear annihilation for so many decades. I think anybody that remembers that is like, fuck this. I don't want another Cold War. What's the point of it? Because it's not like I could see it was true that back to the Soviets, there was a reason why people didn't like the Soviets, and the Soviets were the Soviet government, the Soviet Union, It's not a good regime. Now, the Russian government of today, they do have some internal problems, but it's nothing that no other country. It's not like anything that's unique to them. And honestly, I've seen them when it comes to their foreign policy, do a lot more good than bad in the recent years. And really, at home, I mean, have you ever seen like the Russia's economic numbers since 1999? It's pretty impressive. Which is since Putin took over in 1999, is that they've actually done a lot of good, like in their, building up their own country. That the president actually seems to stand up for the country. Look at that right there. Is that this is going up to 2013 though? But look at what the boost, and I wish and this is what's going to be great about having the graphics next week on the show. But 1998, Russia's GDP in the billions of international dollars was right about says about 1,000, and now it's about 2,600 almost as of 2013. And you see, just like almost immediately as Putin took power, it just came right up slowly, and then actually just dramatically from like 2004 to 2008. Then when like Medvedev as like prime minister took over, it actually took a little bit of a dip, and then when Putin came over, you see it like coming back up again. I think I've seen like extended charts of this as well. Is that if you see another thing here is that there's another chart. Let me see if I can find it for you. So this is pretty this is pretty crazy growth that they had, and I think that what I saw that they'd actually never mind. I remember seeing is that they pretty much have held steady since Putin took back office in 2012, because the problem is the sanctions and everything kind of held the growth of their economy, but it's practically the same. It's not really much of a drop like there was articles. Remember the articles back in 2014? I don't know if you remember. They were like saying Russia's government is collapsing. The Russian economy is collapsing. When will it collapse? Will they last until the next election? And then here we are. Next election's coming up like in 2 weeks. Actually, I think it's like 1 week. I think next Sunday is the election
for Russia.
Yeah, Russia's presidential election comes up, which doesn't really matter because we already know who's going to be the winner of that. I mean,
Putin again.
Putin's got like 60% of the vote. Like it's like dramatic.
How long can he be in office for?
6 more years, and then he has to. Then he can. The thing is that they have the rule in Russia is they can only you can be in there for 2 consecutive terms of 6 years.
Okay.
Which I actually think that's actually good that they have 6-year terms. I think you can get a lot more done as a leader in 6 years compared to 4.
Yeah.
And I think 12 years as a leader, that's pretty good. A solid. That's a pretty solid time for one leader to be working on things. The whole idea of like 4 years and you're done, that was how Colombia was, I think, for a while. Is that we had 4 years and we're done. You can't do shit in 4 years. That's you spend a lot of the beginning of the time just settling into the office. And I think some places even have like, I don't think anybody's lower than 4. I was thinking if anybody had lower than 4. I know that there's some, of course, there's people that have like 2-year terms and like lower, the parliament, stuff like that, which that's really not a lot of time for a government to do any kind of changes. I mean, the polls though for the Russian election, they're like legit, like right now showing like I think 60% or more going to Putin. Like this is the poll, this is the chart right here. Putin's like way up here in percentage. This is everybody else. So it's like, oh no, I'm so scared about Grudinin 7%. He's totally going to turn Russia back in the Soviet Union when he wins the election. I'm so scared. No. Putin's got like legitimately the other candidates, and there's one. There's one candidate there that is just like annoying. This lady right here, Ksenia Sobchak. I'm not even sure if I pronounced that right. She's a piece of work. We'll put it at that. She's Well, the thing is that pretty much like she's like the equivalent to a Russian like Paris Hilton that's now like running to be their president, and just like oh, Putin's so like oppressive and like pretty much like saying like yeah, we should be like the West where they like everything goes. I mean,
she's gonna lose.
She's got like 2% of the vote. I mean, Russian politics though is pretty funny to look at because it's such a shit show for like all the people that are not like all the people that are not Putin. All the other candidates just suck. I mean, like Zhirinovsky's another one who's like a nationalist in quotations, but the guy's just like a drunk that just pretty much says whatever. Like in the debate last week, he pretty much like at one point she said something stupid or something. And then like Zhirinovsky's like shut up you dumb whore or something like that, and kept going into like it's like he used up prostitute and shit like that.
Oh boy.
Like you think our debates got wild in 2016? They got nothing on Russian debates.
Trailer Park Boys edition.
Like that. Remember the episode where like Sam Lasko's running for the trailer park supervisor, and and then they put shrooms in a sandwich, so he started like tripping on stage.
I don't know. I don't think I've seen that one. I gotta rewatch some Trailer Park Boys. It's been a good minute. I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna take a week.
All right. Well, continuing on with the show is that the Russian. Let's actually look up those quotes on there because it was hilarious. I mean, absolutely quality meme stuff right there. It's Zhirinovsky quotes and debate. He literally said, "You are a whore." That's what the other presidential candidate. And here it is, Sputnik News. So this is like Russian TV. So they're going to have probably quite a bit of what actually happened in the debate. So let's see. After being called an idiot multiple times, the only female participant in the Russian presidential debate decided to cool down the offender by pouring a glass of water on him. That didn't help at all. Head of the Liberal Democratic Party of Russia and presidential candidate Vladimir Zhirinovsky has always been known for his explosive behavior, and most of his opponents don't usually try to calm him down, knowing it's useless. But during the last debate, one candidate, the only woman on the list, Ksenia Sobchak, decided to calm down the veteran politician during his verbal onslaught on another candidate and unleashed hell, being called an idiot several times. What Zhirinovsky didn't expect is to get instant revenge in the form of a glass of cold water, which Sobchak poured on him to cool him down. That didn't work. On the contrary, all hell broke loose, and the politician went as far to call her all sorts of names, even words banned on TV, such as fucking whore, crazy bitch, ignoring the fact that he has taken part in debate among presidential candidates the whole country will see. The spokesperson from the Liberal Democratic Party accused Sobchak of provocations and of groundlessly calling her candidate a clown at the beginning of the speech. Sobchak shared her feelings concerning the incident, noting that she had to cool down the old man to prevent him from having a heart attack. When asked about the episode, her husband replied that he has nothing to say to Zhirinovsky, as he is just an old delusional moron, which I have to pretty much agree with Zhirinovsky, that Zhirinovsky is he's not anyone to take seriously, and that's what most Russians see him as. That's why, and I know some people say that the elections in Russia are pretty much just like rigged. That way that Putin wins. I don't know about that. I think that Putin just done such a good job that people that it's hard for anyone to even look into comparison. But also, it's like some of the other ones. I mean, there are some decent candidates in this race, like Grudinin. However, Grudinin, people don't want to go back to the old Soviet ways. And actually, I wouldn't even say a decent candidate. Never mind. I just really going to say is that he's like a pro-Soviet guy. Grudinin, I'm not going to call him not a decent candidate, but he's I guess you could say an orderly candidate. And people don't want that return to Soviet ways in Russia. And Russia's been a country that's been plagued by years of international influence on their politics, and it's about time that the last 20 years that they finally have gotten a leader that cares. Hopefully, the other countries in Europe can follow in suit. And I'm not saying that like Putin's perfect, that it's a model that should be emulated by everybody. But I'm saying compared to what they have in Western Europe, and compared to what we have in America, it's a way better system of government.
America will never fall to communist invasion.
Yes, that as well. Well, at this point, I think that ship's already kind of sailed. I mean, our government is here; they've stayed. I mean, our entire Congress. I think in some ways we switched places with the old Soviet Union. We became like the old Soviet Union, and Soviet Unions like became at least in some ways like how we used to be. I mean, I guess they actually have a moral compass, while Russia, America, our media is willing to say whatever to get their way, and it becomes our plug-in for the podcast. And
what up, Zach? How are you?
We have our promoter.
It's Flashlight Johnny. You're in back. Maybe.
What about the pocket asshole?
That's the new one.
Yeah,
Pornhub exclusive right there.
and yes, this is. I really should put a disclaimer at the beginning of the show that this is not a PG
endorsed
show.
by Pornhub. This is free marketing for a website that needs no.
The website that does not exist, and we'll put the disclaimer there. Please do not go on Google right now trying to buy
You're
a.
not jerking off while you're listening to this. Why are you listening to it? That's all I gotta say.
And that is Fleshlight.
Don't say no.
That is Fleshlight Johnny there with a very entertaining plug-in today. And by the way, don't go to fleshlightjohnny.com. That is not a real website. And
go to spreadasshole.org.
Okay. Look what we've done. We have one full cultural Marxist right now. we have reached a very cultural degeneracy that we are trying to avoid.
Browneye.net.
Oh fuck! Do not. Whatever you do, if you're listening to the show, do not. Don't even have curiosity. Just your fingers off the keyboard. Stay here on UCY.tv.
Girlwithdicks.xx.com.
Oh my god! Why? And this is. Remember, I was talking about the media. This is they say they turned you into
hot young girl.
Oh my god! You're already. Is there a censor thing on there? Because at this point, there's probably old people who are listening to this show, and they're probably, or maybe I don't know. There might be the cool grandpas.
They're probably like, "Hey, I remember when my girlfriend had a penis."
What?
Because they were in some Asian country, fucking everything.
So what? You're saying that the people that all are Vietnam veterans were just going over there having sex with transsexual prostitutes?
Probably.
I mean, there's probably there some, but damn, it's wait up. Look what we've done. Look what we've done. Already in 3 shows. Remember the first show, we were just there to talk about Vietnam flashbacks, and now we're talking about how you're over here talking about how the Vietnam vets went and got some serious, I was going to say pussy, but...
They got boy pussy.
What the fuck? I'm done. I'm going to the next topic.
Okay.
Next topic is... let's go with degeneracy. Talk about that. But yeah, actually I want to go with that is the media. That's not one I didn't even write on here, but I was going to put on there is what is now acceptable in Western countries and how that's quickly changed. I mean,
fake news.
I'm not just saying fake news. I'm just saying the level of just what the fuckery that's allowed in Western countries nowadays. What is the most ridiculous thing that you might have seen on the media, them promoting? I don't know. There's of course there's infinite genders. There's that one, but
there's there's in Canada. Sadly, well, not sadly. I'm not surprised.
Not surprisingly.
Yeah, not surprisingly is what I meant to say. But it was Canadian fucking first boy trans. Oh god, I can't remember it. It was a 12-year-old trans boy or something, and he was on
Oh fuck! I think I know what you're talking about.
He was on some show, and the video is very disturbing because his father's just looking at him in the most strangest way ever. If I could only remember the sentence, look at Canadian trans kid or something on YouTube, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Sure.
I want to sound super transphobic now. Well, I don't think it matters.
Well, it's different when you're talking about 12-year-olds. They're being where it looks like it's did they even come up with that themselves, or did their parents are pushing them along? I mean, I don't. 12. Look at I'm just gonna sum it up simply. If you're not old enough, if you're not fucking old enough to go to war or go even drink a beer or even yeah, I don't know if you're old enough to decide your gender. I mean, that seems to be a little bit much. I mean, after 18, I'm pretty libertarian on that.
Well, I know they also have trans law.
They have a law. Yeah, they have a law that says if the parent won't allow them to change after they're 16 or something like that.
I think it's Bill C-16.
They'll put you in fucking jail. It's Bill C-16. Yep, you're right.
Or it's Bill 1.
No, it's C-16 right there. I saw it.
It is okay.
And this is exactly. Well, let me state what exactly they said here. It says the Canadian Senate passed Bill C-16 by a 67 to 11 vote. The bill adds prohibitions against discrimination on the basis of gender identity and gender expression of the Canadian Human Rights Act. amends the criminal code to extend protections against hate speech. Okay, so this is not what I'm getting. It just keeps going on about, like, I guess
this is something similar to that, but it's basically like if you misgender somebody, you can go to jail, or it's treated as like calling a black person the N-word, you know?
Misgendering law. It came up in Google. Let's see. I mean, it's Daily Caller. I'm trying to find one that's not like too mainstream. Here it is. It says Canadian General Neutral Pronoun Bill is a warning for Americans, and this is from thehill.com. 2 weeks ago, I posted 3 YouTube videos about legislative threats to Canadian freedom of expression. I don't want a fucking IKEA commercial. I don't even know how that came up. I'm just like trying to read about this shit, and it's giving me an IKEA commercial.
That was pretty funny.
What is it? You're just generalizing me? Is it because I'm looking up these topics that they automatically seem like, oh, they think I'm some Swedish guy. I'm some Swedish like Nazi guy, just spouting out on the internet. I'm sitting here, with my Swedishness.
Continue with the article. Oh, that was too good.
It says I singled out Canada's federal bill C-16, which adds legal protection for gender identity and gender expression to the Canadian Human Rights Act and the Criminal Code. I noted that the policy statements surrounding similar legislation, most particularly those on the Ontario Human Rights Commission website, were dangerously vague and ill-formulated. I also indicated my refusal to apply what are now as preferred pronouns to people who do not fit easily into gender categories. Let's go on to where it actually says. I'm trying to find where it actually what you can't do. If you're wondering reasonably why any of this may be relevant to Americans, you might note that the legislation, very similar to Bill C-16, has already passed in New York City. Not surprising. They can fine you up to $250,000 if you misgender someone.
In Canada?
I think this is this is in Canada.
Oh my god.
Yeah. It says including newly constructed words such as ZIE, HIREAEMEIR, and CO. Well. And it says also, they is also a popular choice, transforming the plural into a new singular, with its advocates arguing misleadingly, in my opinion, that such use reaches back several hundred years. I've been taken to task for my refusal to abide by the wishes of those demanding changes to my speech. What are my reasons? And it says, must legally protects a non-exhaustive gender identity. So we're talking about New York now. Facebook offers a choice of 58. I mean, here's the thing: is that I'm not transphobic whatsoever. I think that people have the choice. I mean, they can do that once they're an adult. But the idea of like this whole like non-binary, there's 50, there's 75 genders or whatever. It just,
I feel like that hurts the trans movement more than
because it makes them look all crazy. I mean, it's like people lump them into the same, and I don't know. I think to be honest, I mean, I don't know enough about to say one way or another about like the actual issue itself. Honestly, it seems like a very tough situation to go through, and I really hope those people. I wish those people luck in whatever they try to do. But when they start, when we start to get to this nonsense where we have 70 genders and stuff like that, and people are saying now that gender is not connected to sex, to actually if you're a male or female, that your gender is not connected to that. I know it's like I feel like we went off into a wacko world,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like this is the priorities Canada has, right now. And also, it's weird how a country that has all this is also taking in people that in their country, for example, I'm saying like the people, some of these extremists have taken in from the Middle East that would fucking throw these people off a rooftop back home. It's weird how it's like this is like they can take in both at the same time, when you talk about the...
Because they don't know what reality is, that's why.
There needs to be that.
They have created a reality that does not exist, that only exists in their bubble.
It comes to, a quote comes to mind is like, you ever watch that show Mythbusters when you were a kid?
Yeah.
Remember the opening lines of the show? I substitute your reality and I reject your reality and substitute my own.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's exactly.
They have taken Jamie Heinemann's words and they've taken it too far.
Pretty much. When the meme goes too far.
This is what Canada no longer is a real country. They are a living warning nightmare meme, but they're not a country anymore. They are. It's like people have said they're like a theme park at this point.
Yeah.
Which I'm sorry to. I know there's a lot of Canadians listening to this show, and you're probably more pissed off than I am because that's the country right there. This is happening to. But and again, I guess living in America is not that bad. I mean, sometimes when I see what's going on in Canada and Western Europe, I mean, yeah. I mean, that's all I can say.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's like an asterisk because it's like probably going to happen like 2-3 years.
Maybe.
You know, and also talk about in Canada. You know, we go on to Western Europe. The next big thing, this big topic, and we're gonna a little controversial. European population displacement.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, so here's the thing: is that I mean, what do you how far do you think this is going to go? Do you think there's ever going to be a point where, like, because you said, and we debunked that on the last show, that Sweden. We debunked that Sweden had more migrants than natives, which wasn't true. There is 30% of the country are foreigners, and 30% of the country were foreigners, but they're mostly from Europe. Yeah, and majority of the people, but the majority of the people were out here not from like Middle Eastern countries or whatnot.
To be fair, we barely looked into it, and one thing we did,
well, it's only like 10% of Sweden's population is Muslim. That's not like a big deal. I mean, it wasn't like anything like these scare articles are like saying.
Well, that's Muslim. I'm talking about like Syrians.
They're true. They're all
Pakistanis, Somalians. I'm talking about those people.
True.
People that are not Swedes.
That's true, and also don't really fit this. I guess the main problem that we get down to it is that they're just refusing to assimilate.
Not to mention the list of the very large list of grenade attacks that happened.
Don't get me started on that. Don't get me started on that again, Beavis.
Why? Why should that happen? Why is that
I don't know why that happened, and honestly, like I said, I'm not saying there's not a problem. I mean, there's definitely a fucking problem where you're just chilling in your coffee shop and then somebody fucking chucks a grenade at you.
A peaceful migrant.
Yeah, I know. It's like I fucking hate.
Look into it right now. Look into it.
We already looked into. We went on the list for like an hour.
Not that. I'm talking about the Sweden thing. Sweden displacement population.
Me and Noah made brownies.
You did?
Yeah.
Like the good.
I mean, we lived in brownies.
Oh, nice.
We like sit on a boat all day. Like,
so, I mean, let's look at this is the displacement problem. I'm actually looking up right here, and by the way, yes, there are now if you haven't heard on the show, we are now participating in illicit activities.
We smoke ganja.
No, we're just eating brownies.
Well, yes, I wasn't talking about that. I'm talking about the kind of speech we're getting into now. Where we went into the controversial.
Oh yes, this speech.
Yeah, we went. This is what I'm referencing now. So this is a interesting chart about this. Is that let's talk about the actual amount of refugees that went to different countries. Pakistan actually has more refugees than anybody, than Iran.
And they're not even like refugees, are they?
Well, I mean, a lot. Well, a lot of them are running from Syria or like Yemen, so those are war and famine they're running from. But a lot of them are coming from what I've read, like Egypt and other countries where there's nothing.
Well, what does the media usually say? Syrian refugees are Pakistani Syrians?
No, they're not talking. They're saying Pakistan has hosted more refugees than anybody, I think.
Oh, okay.
Or actually, never mind. This is different. Afghanistan has that many refugees. That's crazy. I didn't know. I think this is what it's saying.
I'm a refugee.
You're a refugee?
You know what? Every time I hear the refugee, when people start talking about refugees, I start thinking of that Tom Petty song. You know the Tom Petty song I'm talking about.
And I won't back down. That one?
No, not that one. You don't have to live like a refugee. No, I can't even sing. I have the beat all off. But whatever.
She said.
Ooh.
Oh, okay, roasting right now. And by the way, if you can't really hear it in the background because it's like behind the computer, there's somebody else at the table with us.
We have a surprising guest.
Yeah, we have an audience. I guess you could say a live audience.
Fuck you! I am the show.
We
have a very sassy audience.
Oh yeah, we have a very saucy.
The audience pegged me.
Fuck you.
Okay, we went 13 minutes ago. And I'm going exactly 13 minutes ago. you were talking about chicks with dicks, and now you're talking about getting pegged. Okay, we have went into the cultural Marxism has reached a new high on this show. I mean, yes, it has. And sorry, that was just my Facebook, which I got your message. I got the audience's message from Facebook. Well, we've definitely we're 55 minutes in, so we actually got like another half to go. Which that's kind of quick. It went really quick the first half, but but let's go back into the displacement problem. Because this is you wanted to convince me that you wanted to convince me that it was it was dramatic, and actually nothing really came up when I put that in. Let's see, Sweden migration, or let's see, stats. Let's look at the actual stats of it. Like, we'll break down into more specific things. It says the percentage of foreign-born inhabitants in Sweden has risen to 18.5%, which a lot of those people are European, though. As of 2014, according to Statistics Sweden, there are around 17,000 total asylum immigrants from Syria, 10,000 from Iraq, 4,500 from Eritrea, that's from North Africa, 1,900 from Afghanistan, 1,100 from Somalia. And it's not really too dramatic. A lot. I think that's black, isn't it? Well, you're home here at Voice of Gun Radio, where you're gonna get red pills.
Why? What? Why can't I go home?
I don't walk. Wait a while until I would.
Well, I mean, you can stick around and watch the show. You could hang around with the show. We have the dank memes.
I can survive for that.
In like an hour, though. Okay.
But continue on with the show, and this is what it's saying is that, and that Sweden's population is 9.6 million, says immigrants 14.3%. So we're getting this general consensus that the immigrants make up 14. Isn't like our population here in America is like 50 million. I think 50 million are like were born in some other country. I don't even know the statistics. I know are pretty staggering. But I know what you said before on the show before is that Sweden's not a Maramuts.
Yeah. So it's and then
we've always been a melting pot. They haven't.
Yeah, and now last time on the show, we read that the culture guy that knew nothing about Sweden, he got that that was by driving a motorcycle around, which is ridiculous. Wow, if you're Sweden and you're listening to this, you have very poor standards. Your country
is fucked.
Your country has very poor standards. I wouldn't say it's fucked. There's a chance, but yeah, he then continued to push that Swedish women need to have sex with more migrants.
Which, but we'll get into another argument, is that, I know it's kind of weird for him to be pushing that, I guess, but what is actually wrong with race mixing in general? If that's what you're saying, that race mixing is wrong?
There is like a race IQ thing. Like, if you look into the race IQ, it's very different. And if you have people from, say, I'm not even gonna name the locations, because then that's when we're getting to some really hot water, but go ahead. You can look into like the race.
I know where where are the statistics? You're gonna say that African people have different IQs than European people. Is that what you're gonna say?
I was gonna say that. If you said it, not me.
Is that I know that's what you're gonna say. I was reading an article on this earlier, but where's the statistics coming from? How do they even judge the general IQ? How many people have taken an IQ test that you even know? It's like are we taking from a select group of people and they're like, oh, they're not smart enough? European people, and also a lot of these people. Are we talking about their actual mental capacity? Because their mental capacity is probably the same, but they probably just haven't had the same education that they get in Europe because, well, they're third world countries. So ultimately, a person in Colombia, a person in Europe, not gonna have the same access as someone from America. And also, by the way, yeah, your country, Sweden, your country's not totally fucked, but you can go ahead and try to fix that by voting for the Swedish Democrats this year. If you vote for the Swedish Democrats, you might have a hope. Otherwise, I don't know. If you keep voting for the European left, I don't think you guys are going to have another election. Your next election is just going to go right to the other guys, because it's like we mentioned before, is that you don't need necessarily a majority to change the country forever. But if the number where they can never vote a party like the Swedish Democrats to vote a nationalist party, and the European left wins permanently, well, that's good enough. Or whatever. I know. You know what's ironic is that I think Merkel actually doesn't consider herself left. She actually says that she's like center right.
Oh, ew.
Yeah, like her party, like Angela Merkel's party, whatever. I think it's called the.
Well, hold on, before you look up Angela Merkel, let's continue on with the population displacement thing.
Well, it also relates to that because Germany and Sweden, they both have a similar problem, but Sweden's problem, yeah, is much worse.
You mean Germany?
I think Swedish problem is worse than by the total statistics of it. But I mean, give me a scary thing to look up. That's actually, I mean, you did scare me last week with the grenade attacks. Give me something else scary about Sweden, and I need something a little bit more, and then I'll actually go into it and like see.
I guess the rape crimes, like the rape.
Oh yeah, we looked into that. Yeah.
Or and not even Sweden. You could do that for Germany, England.
They went up by 10%, like in 1 year. Yeah, it's pretty high. And then if you actually look at that, I think well, that's a chart in Swedish, so I can't really read off of that. Let's see. So this is what's saying. It looks like it reached like a. Yeah, but it looks like it's been going up since like 2004. Or no, I think it says African plus Middle Eastern refugees arriving in Sweden per year versus, okay, never mind. So look at this scary chart. Like literally 2004 is where it starts going up dramatically. And look what else goes up dramatically in 2004.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, as it goes up, and this is what's showing. Oh, yeah, it's a chart box. So here's the refugees are going up. Like the years that they went up generally, but the thing is that it's just generally went up since 2004 because like less refugees came in these years here, and then they came dramatically after like 2012. So I mean, there's not necessarily like.
No, what's the bottom chart?
It says cumulative arrivals. This is arrivals in Sweden per year. And this is like saying the total arrivals. Now this might be the chart we should actually look at because this one actually is like this is showing what's the total amount of refugees, and it's pretty much that's scary. It's like almost like it's pretty much like there's a little bit of a variance, but not by much. Like it's pretty much it went up as the amount of arrivals that came into the country.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize it was like that. I gotta admit that's something. So
let's continue to go down the rabbit hole, Chris.
Okay, let's keep going down this rabbit hole. Okay.
What up, Blake? How you doing, guy?
What's the next thing you want me to skip? What's the next thing you can scare me with, Beepus?
Look up fucking German rape attacks or German bombings in general. I guess European bombings too, because they've been having a lot of those lately.
I know, it's like that meme where it's like, you Americans need to get rid of your guns. Gets hit by a bomb. It's like gets ran over by a truck.
Gets thrown acid on.
It's like where they have any kind of well, when I put in German bombing stats, it came up as like World War II shit. I should have expected that.
Yeah.
No, no, we don't need the World War II stats. It's like modern.
I hate asking you this on the show too, but can you spare me a buck personally?
Sure.
Just add it to the bill.
To the bill, yeah. You got. Yeah, sure. Now everybody knows that that's $1 is owed. Yeah, let's see. And there we go. That's going to be 1 shekel for you.
Oh, thank you. I'm a good boy.
And I mean, for looking at this chart, I mean, it's trying to scare me about the for people who are just tuning in about the whole increase in immigration in Sweden. But if we look at the terrorist attacks in the last couple of years, it actually looks like it reached a total height about 2007, and additional like religious attacks being the highest. Shows there's some unspecified attacks, of course, and you have to count in also though the right-wing attacks, anarchist attacks, and separatist attacks, which I mean, Europe has been plagued by in recent years. There's a lot of separatism, a lot of countries like Catalonia that want to split away, that believe that they need to have, that believe that they should have their independence by now. So that's led to a lot of instability across Europe. So it's not necessarily like all the violence is no way, shape, or form is being contributed to the refugee crisis. I mean, to me, it's not really too convincing. I mean, these statistics about like the terror arrest in the EU since 2006 to 2013. I mean, that's not really recent though. A lot of the crisis came in recent years. It's actually kind of hard to find like a some really, really recent stats. Let's look at what else here. Let's see. Just a bunch of there's definitely been a lot of attacks recently. It seems like it says the number of terrorists. So this is a chart here. It's showing it's went down since 2014, but it's showing that in Germany, they're showing quite a bit of terror attacks. Most of them look to be in France. France seems to have a major problem. Spain also has somewhat of a problem in Italy. But pretty much the French terror problem has been. It's almost like what was their security force even doing? I know I talked about this before, 11/13/15. Even though I think 11/13/15 was a false flag, and there was a lot of evidence, and even from the spectators there, that there was a Mossad or there's involved, or potentially their own intelligence in order to further lock down the country. Since I talked about the one, which was probably one of the most bigger attacks of recently in Europe, they've been hit by what? They've been hit by like 5 years. Definitely not been a good inside of France and just in Europe in general. Like I said, Western Europe has been through a lot in recent years, and also there's been a lot of total disaster. It's just been a shame what's happened there with the European Union. It's pretty much for attention. What reason why they even do this here? Wasn't the Euro supposed to strengthen Europe? Wish it, and maybe a few other countries will be out with, will be out with. There is a failed concept, a failed project that has lived past its use, and nowadays, they just keep trying to expand further and further east to try to encumber Russia with the, I guess you could say the might of the West and NATO. But Russia is not going to be intimidated by the European Union's encroachment east towards we're talking about like countries like Estonia, countries like Latvia, countries like Lithuania that are now now they're putting more and more United States troops closer to the border. That they hear more instances of these Baltic these Baltic instances between Russia and the United States, and then trying to make it seem like there would be Russian aggression that caused these incidents when it was American troops that were way over far east. They're practically at their border. Imagine if Russian troops were in Mexico and were posturing with us constantly. A lot of, if you look at the chart here, just look up NATO bases near Russia, you'll be alarmed by that. So I could see, I think Europe is tired of this playing into the Russian, the encroachment towards Russia.
What did I miss? I'm sorry.
I was just saying, I was just talking shit about the European Union pretty much, and
okay.
and then talking, I was just saying that pretty much, that the Europeans are also one reason why they're tired of the European Union. They're tired of playing this Cold War game and being
back on this topic.
Well, I went on that. I looked up your stats actually about your charts on the German terrorist attacks in the last 5 years. It didn't check out to be anything. It looks like it went down the last couple of years.
All right, look up Ray Jackson.
Yeah. Well, it's Germany because they're like center of the EU. Like this is the example for Europe, and remember it's like that one meme. It's such a group of doing something.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah.
Why the internet got so? I got ruining it. That's what they're. You come to jerk. We're just doing teamwork. One guy gets the other person. One guy gets the. That's Yeah. It's kind of it's kind of weird looking at the and I like get on. Oh shit! Gotta get back into somewhat more acceptable topic for the next 5 seconds.
Why does Israel needs to be bombed?
Dude, they're gonna get. Remember like that meme where we're talking about that like the police? It's gonna be like some guy called Mossad. we're gonna get. But here's I found loaded the charts I was talking about. Look at that. It's not the worst year was the 20.
Right.
France.
Yeah, France is getting really.
France. People like they're just saying jerk.
All right. Well,
Sexual assaults down in Germany.
year or something.
When it comes up with, like I said, so this part here it says but this sexual harassment's a little bit different. Let's not we're gonna see. Hair. Or yeah, look, 2005. All right, actually, there's one that shows the time. I think. Nope, that's not even us. Nope. That's a good idea.
Oh. Did you?
Maybe thought it was. Although I didn't even get. Like, why is there a put in that shouldn't come up? Like, when I put in German, trying to cool
tactic.
So let's look here. Too blurry. I can't read that, but it looks like. Oh, this is going by reports, and this looks like. Oh, this is milk. Why can't we German stuff? I'm looking for German stuff, and it comes up.
Up on the list, not images. That's main reason.
Well, I mean, on Google, it's got to come up with. I mean, we're talking about stats. It should come up with nice charts. Oh, okay. Here's some stuff. So, let's see. I don't know. This is I don't know what the hell website this is. It might not be reputable or not. But this is oh shit, look at this chart. This is what Germany. Look at that. It here in 2003 8 per 100,000 population. Up dropped 1,000 years they came back up and they came back down. I mean, but you know, this chart that it's not most of like we didn't. I mean, while we're on the topic of like well, before something, but if
to move over there. We're going mobile for a second, so we're just gonna go. We're just coming right over here. We're just that way we get a little bit of internet, and I see the internet start like looking when it came to like. Well, so now we can finally actually get. So single point. Lose grenade attack. Like I went all over. Oh fuck! How is that? Low tide one day, Conv or something. It was, like one of them was like a fucking gas station. So I don't know if he was like a. I mean, the gas station attack was. I mean, or I don't know. It seemed going about it intentionally or not, but let's go next thing. So, why it was not coming up? It's actually because a little bit. I think just as people on now. Never. That's probably behind the phone. We're going mobile next area of operations, or AO. And oh, there it's like every time, you know what's funny? It's like when I was walking over, it came up, and then it like connection, the internet went out, and then when I moved again, and then when we went behind that wall, it lost, and then now we were moving again, it finally came up with like my Google search. So it's also partially just because too many people are on the internet.
Our show fucking sucks.
Our show, hey, you gotta have a little bit of positivity, man, Beefus. It's not the worst that's happened, believe me. Think about it, is that we have the servers for the show, I'll explain one thing to you, are up in New York. So one time I literally had a show cut short because they had a snowstorm up in New York, and the whole network went down for like an hour. So it's like at least that didn't happen tonight. And then another time, I remember clearly, is that I was on the show, and then I heard like just like, and then like I remember my buddy Michael couldn't even like hear me, even though there was no problem with the connection and everything. There was another time where I was on the show, and the thing just, there was like somebody was like breathing on the other end. It was creepy as shit.
Oh.
Yeah, like all I heard was like somebody like breathing on the other end of the show. Like someone, I don't know if there was some like creepy like FBI agent that was like tapping in and was like, that's what I feel like. Everybody has like, everybody that's anybody questionable like us probably has like an NSA agent that's probably like personally assigned to us at this point. And yeah, it was more like it sounded more like robotic. It was almost like a Darth Vader was on the other line or something. You have failed me for the last time. You dumb boy.
You dumb boy.
Yeah, you didn't know that Anakin Skywalker, he changed his name, man. That's why I changed his name. When he joined the Empire, he converted. That's what. Yeah, that's. How do you think you learned all that wizardry and stuff that he could actually shoot lightning out?
Here, I want to find some interesting topics to discuss. And you can discuss whatever you want to discuss. But,
Hey, actually, I was thinking is actually, I didn't bring my bag from over there.
oh, you want to go grab it?
Yeah, just grab my bag real quick.
All right, I'll go grab your bag.
And so I finally got the statistics, and it says that this is for Turkish people born in Germany. We finally got the goods here. It says that in the first decade, 21st century, numerous academics have suggested that there are 4 million people, or at least more than 4 million people of full or partial Turkish origin in the country, or 5% of Germany's total population of 82 million inhabitants. So, I mean, it says also here that it says, and here's another statistic, it says Arabs in Germany. Well, it's not really that scary of a statistic. When it says that only 400,000 to 500,000, it doesn't really go with some of the scare articles I've seen. I mean, 400,000 to 500,000 people of being of Arab origin in Germany is not anything when the population in Germany is, it says here, is 81,802,000 people. So Beefus, he's coming back right now. I got this statistics here. So, and where's my stuff?
Is your stuff?
No, that's Emily's stuff.
Oh.
Is there another bag there? Did I even bring it over there?
Oh, it's on the table.
Oh.
Well, she's sleeping on it, so.
Maybe she's late. I don't know. I mean,
Go get it back.
okay. So what? Yeah, I guess just.
Tell me what you read.
No, here's what. Yeah, let's get back to the show. Don't worry about the bag. Here's what is that. In the Arab, it says here that the number of people of Arab descent in Germany is only 400 to 500,000 people. Germany's population is 81,802,000 people. It's not even 1%.
Okay.
So it's not. That's not really. But that's not. There's more like Turkish people apparently. It says 5% of their total population is Turkish.
What are you looking at? Muslim population?
I was just looking at German foreign population and got all these statistics came up. So
you got.
Yeah.
What was the 400% Syrians?
That was Arab. So that's like probably Syrians, Iraq. The problem is that the Middle East is divided into technically different people. There's Persian, there's the Arabs, there's the Turkish. So it's kind of hard to sometimes find statistics about the Middle East in general. But let's look at okay. Then we'll go to that one. German Muslim population. It says here that only 1.9% of their population is declared as Muslim. That's not that much compared to.
It's not that much.
We have 0.6% in America. And that when it comes to actual number, we actually probably have a lot more than them because we have 0.6% of 320 million. That comes up to be like 2.7 million. They have like 1.9% of. Yeah, it's not. Even, it says only 1.5 million people in Germany are Muslim. So I don't know. It's like Sweden is the only one that kind of alarms me because like the main thing is more like the position of power that some people that people are not even from the country. I mean, you do a motorcycle trip around the country and you get to be the head. What is it? The official title? The head of cultural ministry or whatever. I mean, is there a what the fuck sound effect that you have on there?
Yeah, when you pull out baby up.
Well, you guys, I just want to, we'll just read that. Let's read about that. I want to see what that guy's name is. Swedish cultural minister. Let's see. What is the head of cultural? Is that it? No, that's a different thing. Ministry of Culture of Sweden is a. Well, that's interesting. Look who this is a different position. I just found this by accident. The person that.
Oh, whoops! I grabbed your wrong bag.
Yeah.
We're over here now.
So
Sorry.
it's. I mean, did you know that? So they got the It's like this person that was also in a different. But I just wanted to point out that even the head of culture, there was a different position in Sweden, and the person was also like part African or something. That was interesting. And you didn't even, and we just skipped on the sound effects because a certain audience member needs their phone real bad. No, I don't have any shekels to spare right now. Anyways, by the way, if you haven't caught on yet, this is a Kava bar we're doing this show from, so that's why there's been a little bit of interruptions or whatnot. But I still think I'll make some more interesting whole setting than I just did in my house. And there's nobody really calls in, nobody to really talk to, and just me talking, blabbering on for 2 hours.
No, like the back right there.
And let's see. And we're just gonna go to a totally fucking different topic because I'm just going to Facebook and this came up. It says that Trump's military parade. Apparently, Trump wants to do a military parade, which I don't see really the big deal. But it says it's going to cost $50 fucking million to do, which that's all for what? And which I know some people say, doing military parades makes you a dictator. That's not true. I mean, we used to do them back in the day. There hasn't been. It says that he's going to do I think the parade's could be for the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I. And it says that one scenario that's taken shape. It says the Pentagon maps out options for military parade they've requested, and it's apparently he actually got the green light on this. Is what I read, or that it's pretty much in the way. And I guess the troops are gonna wear World War I uniform. It's gonna be It's gonna be dedicated to all the World War I soldiers. Except we haven't had a military parade. The last military parade was only in 1991. And it says I went on to a totally different topic, but what do you think about this little thing right here?
Okay.
Trump actually doing a military parade that's going to cost us $50 million of taxpayer money. Do you think this is a thing that we should actually be doing, or?
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, I like military parades. I think they're cool, but at the same time, I don't know.
I mean, yeah, they're cool, definitely. I mean, I made watching the Russian military parades like they do on D-Day, or not D-Day,
D-Day.
D-Day. Yeah, I was on D-Day.
I guess it's just a military, strong dick move kind of thing.
My dick's bigger than yours move.
Yeah, it's pretty much one of those.
My missile's bigger. And it's remember when he actually pretty much oh yeah, my nuclear bun's bigger and mine actually works. I'm damn, he just said that Kim Jong-un's got a limp dick. It went from that and now they're going to meet each other. So that's going to work in a couple weeks or a couple months.
It's going to be interesting.
No, it's not even going to be a meeting. They're just going to walk into the room together and they're just going to show each other their dicks and be it's okay, let's sell this for once and for all. It's okay, we got to get the ruler out. The ruler's too big for that. We're gonna have to get out the. We're gonna have to get out a dial caliper or something scientific if it's too small. It's we got 0.7, 0.8 inches. I don't know. Apparently, I don't know. But you could probably ask Stormy Daniels about that one. About if he has no problem there, as he said, remember to Marco Rubio.
Well, apparently Kim Jong-un just declared that he's going to do the peace deal thing with him.
I know Kim Jong-un actually agreed. So that he's gonna try to denuclearize, right?
Yeah, he wants to sign a peace treaty with Trump.
Wait, what? He wants to which would officially bring the end to the Korean War because we never signed a peace treaty.
Yeah, I'm about to pull up the article now.
Holy fuck, that's pretty big news.
Yeah, let me pull up the article now.
Because we've been in an armistice with North Korea for 70 years, 60 years.
It's from Bloomberg Politics. I don't know how reliable the source this is, but this is March 11th, 2018.
Today, yeah.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un wants to sign a peace treaty with the established diplomatic relations with the United States, including allowing an embassy in Pyongyang, according to Seoul-based Dong Iblu. I can't say it. I'm sorry.
Wait, what's the name? Dong Iblu. I think that's pretty much right.
Yeah, newspaper which cited an unidentified senior official with the South Korea's presidential office. Kim is likely to raise the possibility of a peace treaty as well as denuclearizing his country during a meeting with the U.S. President Donald Trump. The newspaper said, citing an official in the office of South Korean leader Moon Jae-in, Okay, that's the end of the sentence, apparently. Trump last week agreed to meet Kim, although when and where the summit would take place has yet to be decided. In separate summit between Kim and Moon scheduled for next month, the North Korean leader is also expected to raise resuming cultural exchanges and reuniting separate families. And
Well, I mean, that all sounds good. I mean, if it actually is true. I mean, I know that they've been working towards, like, easing the tensions on the border and a lot more cultural exchanges. And it'd be good if they actually can get some kind of a. I hope they get to the point one day where they can actually, people can at least maybe freely commerce on the peninsula again. I don't know if that will ever come. And the thing is that people, again, we have to realize, part of the thing Trump's going to have to realize, there's a reason why they got all those nuclear weapons. It's not that, and Trump actually said this back in 1999. There's a reason. It's not they're just doing this because they're madmen. They're smart and they see a pattern. Is that ultimately?
Oh wait, hold on. There's more to the article.
This is what.
President Donald Trump will need to adopt an unfamiliar set of traits, patience, persistence, clear goals and conditions, and be prepared to walk away when he meets North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. People who have negotiated with Kim's regime say Trump apparently what? Is that a word?
Impromptu.
Is that a word?
Yeah.
That's a word? Okay.
Yeah.
Decision to begin setting up talks contrasts with Kim's situation. North Korea has prepared deliberately for decades for a meeting with the sitting of the United States president as a major step towards gaining international legitimacy. Leaving the White House on Saturday for a rally in Pennsylvania, which I think was like yesterday, Trump told reporters, "We're doing something very special. We have a lot of support. I think North Korea is going to go very well." He also said North Korea had promised to not launch missiles in the meantime. Earlier, Trump tweeted that he'd spoken with the Chinese President Xi Jinping and Japan's Minister Shinzo Abe about the meeting with Kim. President Xi told me he appreciates the United States is working to solve the problem diplomatically rather than going with the ominous alternative. China continues to be helpful. Trump said Abe was very
enthusiastic.
God, I fucking suck at reading today. You want to read the rest of this?
Yeah, sure. We'll take a look. I didn't realize it would be that. And by the way, this is Bloomberg, so fake news alert, but let's keep on going. South Korea, which helped facilitate the talks, asked for an exemption to Trump's planned steel tariffs. The finance ministry said in a statement Sunday, negotiations with the North Korean regime are very painstaking and frankly painful, said Christopher Hill, who served as U.S. ambassador to South Korea and assistant secretary under former clown/president George W. Bush. You think that you have an agreement one moment, then you don't the next moment. The White House said Thursday that Trump plans to meet with Kim within months, dispensing with decades of American foreign policy by accepting a high-stakes invitation from the North Korean leader. The summit, which the Trump administration hopes will lead to talks to wind down Kim's nuclear weapons program, could avert what has at times seemed to be an imminent war on the Korean peninsula. But the meeting may also be a ploy by Kim to buy time to perfect his weapons and wriggle out punishing economic sanctions. And then it goes on. Okay, that's pretty much all that really needs to be said because it keeps going on, and it starts talking about like Dennis Rodman. I'm like, it's like I don't know that they're talking. I can't believe. Yeah, I know that's what's funny is that's the only kind. Think about that. The closest thing that we've had in the last couple of years to any kind of talk with that country, with any kind of a representative, has been Dennis fucking Rodman, a fucking former NBA player. So I think the thing is that, and Trump said this himself actually, is that we need to talk to them. We can't just posh them. We need to talk to them directly. He said that we need to talk to them, but also he did say, and I don't agree with that if the talks don't go well, that we just need to eliminate. He said in 1999 this, by the way, but he said that we need to eliminate them, or we need to eliminate the problem sooner than later. I don't know if we should go down. I think that the thing is that we need to emphasize, and we need to sign. I think the treaty is the first thing that we have to do, because that's part of the thing is that we're technically still at war with North Korea. They're scared that we may, we might act on them like we did to Libya, like we did to Syria, like we did to many other countries, and that's why they're armed to the teeth and live in a state of fear and panic. Their government, partially, and it's also they've dragged their people into this mess. I'm not necessarily defending the regime North Korea, but I'm saying that there's a reason why. There's a method to the madness, and a justified reason at that. I mean, if they just have to look around, and they've been doing this since like the 90s, which is when we really got a lot more aggressive with our foreign policy. Remember, Operation Desert Storm was really kind of like when the world woke up and realized that America is not messing around. That we took on the fourth biggest military at the time, and just went to war with them on false pretexts. Remember, is that we gave Iraq the green light to invade Kuwait. They were both our allies, and then we turned on our ally and bombed them, and we actually slaughtered. We slaughtered their soldiers retreating back home when the war was already over, when they were already defeated. If you haven't seen those pictures, well, those are pretty graphic, but it's pretty eye-opening. Is that we literally, when they were on the highway going back to Iraq, we bombed them when they were retreating. I mean, this is I think pretty as big as a violation of just normal decency. If there's decency in war, which there's not, but any kind of decency in war will be 100% violated to the extremes, and that's not right. Next, and I have a couple more topics I want to get to. Is that we're going to kind of change it up a little bit. But the next thing that I wanted to get to a little bit is let's see. We'll talk a little bit about this. Talk about I guess we're just talking about the imperialism right now of the American military machine, but we'll go into the next thing is that, I guess you could say the afterburn of colonialism. Now that colonialism is over in South Africa, or at least officially over, and now that South Africa is a sovereign country, now they've done some very questionable moves in the last couple of weeks, and have now called, for the seizure of white-owned land. They've called for the seizure of white-owned land in South Africa, which, it also called the people there that they're the farmers that they're taking the land, the Afrikaners, I believe is how you pronounce it. These people that are being kicked out, and a lot of people, there's a lot of people that they think it's just this is propaganda from the white farmers because a lot of people are saying, well, why are we believing in racist South African, white South Africans? Which, I guess if you really want to go down that route, just let the words of the South. I mean, I'm a person that when it comes to Nelson Mandela and the actual, liberation of South Africa, I do believe it was a very high moment in African history. But it has brought me a little bit of despair in the last couple of weeks watching that, this eye for an eye mentality almost is is that these people seem to be getting targeted just purely in revenge, But the South African land, they're calling it land reform, and there's been some misrepresentation for sure. And I wonder if it's like in Zimbabwe. I remember Zimbabwe, there was a lot of misinfo that came out of the Zimbabwean situation that was trying to say that these people were targeted purely just because they were white, which came out not to be really true. It was more that a lot of the land was ill-gotten to begin with, and
Chris was a bullet volume.
Oh, it's right behind you, bro.
It wasn't a. It wasn't these people did. It wasn't like this is their legitimate land necessarily, but it says here. It all started actually. It says on December 20th of last year, the ruling ANC, so that's the ruling party in South Africa, announced at their 54th national conference they will seek to amend Section 25 of the South African Constitution regarding property rights to implement land expropriation without compensation. At the conference, a resolution was passed to grant ownership of traditional land to the respective communities, about 13% of the country, usually registered in trust like the Ngonyama Trust under the name of traditional leaders to the respective communities. So what I'm seeing here is that they pretty much legalized, I guess you could say, land seizure without. They're saying that if it was stolen, it was ill-gotten land. At least is what the bill I just read. that it's legitimate. That as long as that they can legitimately grab it at that point. I don't know. There's been, whenever there's been land grabs and there's been different reforms, a lot of times of course, they bring a lot of controversy, a lot of anger with these people's land being stolen, but there's a lot of misinfo that comes out of it because the people are, losing their property. A lot of times they're losing, a lot of times it wasn't their land to begin with, so they bring a lot of, they bring a lot of ways to justify it. I mean, it's not the first time in Zimbabwe or South Africa a major land reforms happened. There was, land reforms have happened in Cuba. Land reforms have happened.
Large-scale land grabs have been happening in East Lanian, Pretoria.
Those are different cities. They're saying that they're large. They're happening in Pretoria, the city there. But you're going off of some guy off of poll. But it says thousands. What it said, thousands of people have claimed in open areas. And let me see. This is now you're going to Twitter. I mean, not really. You're going just what some random dick has to say on the internet. I mean, anybody could say anything on the internet. It's like we were just exactly about an hour ago, we were talking about Johnny Fleshlights and chicks with dicks, apparently, because that was related to our show.
Let me browse, man.
That's gonna be like, what I have to say, Beep, is every show that I've done with you so far, there's like a couple moments that there's a lot of shows that I don't remember shit from. I'm gonna remember these 3 shows like a lot because I'm gonna remember Johnny Fleshlights. I'm gonna remember the Swedish grenades.
Well, here's a video of a large.
Can't really. They're not gonna be really to hear it on here, but.
Those are all people in the background.
Oh yeah,
taking over the farm. Say okay, and the police is alright.
Well, it's been legalized by their parliament.
So that makes it a good thing?
Well, I mean, I think what they're saying is that it's being expropriated because it was once expropriated for people there. That these families got the land illegitimately, I think is what's being claimed back during the apartheid. So it's like in that case, I mean, are you saying? There's probably a lot of those people are probably people that did get the land because of their connections, because just ultimately they took that land from the native Africans there when it was still colonized by when it was still under the apartheid regime, which was for 100 years or so. It was just the apartheid regime 20-something years ago. A lot of those people that might begin their land taken might be the same very people that were active collaborators in the apartheid regime. You have to think about that. I mean, I think that's something a lot of certain websites like to forget. Poll comes to mind. They like to try to act like that. And some people even try to justify the apartheid that happened. The only reason I'm weary is because it seems that there might the idea that there is this reverse, that apartheid. This is the idea of this eye for an eye mentality when you're talking about people's lives is not a way to go. That's the reason why I would be against it. But if this is the thing is that if these people expropriated the land illegally back in the 1900s, back in 1970, and their family, now it's the son that's running the land, and his dad ultimately took it. I don't know. That's the thing is that, with that same logic, we say, that a lot of the people on the right are saying that the immigrants' children shouldn't be allowed to stay in the country because of a mistake their father did. So, but apparently these people should be able to keep their land even though that their father committed a mistake. This is a tough one. And I know they have to show that same scary picture of, they try to scare people. I saw that one with Mandela with the communist leaders back in 1990 something, which Mandela was a very socialist. Was very socialist at one point. I was not even sure who that the other 2 people in that. That's a famous photo that's circulated all around. Mandela definitely though moderated in later years, and. I mean, he practically was an American ally by the time he died. I mean, that's the one thing I actually criticize him on, is that he actually kind of just gave in to the establishment at one point. But I'm not going to say here on this show that like some people on the right side of politics that the revolution of 1994 should have never happened. I see sometimes they'll even be having the pictures of like the hoisting proudly the apartheid flag, which is the same thing with Rhodesia. Is that they'll talk a lot of shit about the Rothschilds and stuff like that. People on poll, but then they'll be supporting a government that was literally like created by the Rothschilds. Rhodesia and South Africa was the only country that was like friends with Israel, or Israel was like the only country that was friends with South Africa at one point. So isn't that a little bit funny to you? Anyways, Beefus, you've been a little bit quiet last 20 minutes or so, and I was like, you got any topics you want to cover? You have any of this little list that you particularly wanted to cover before the end of the show? I mean, we've got probably about time for about one more topic or so before we head on out. We got about 15 minutes left.
What about the American Family Unit?
All right, let's go into that. Yeah, I know we want that. I actually mentioned that, and the American Family, it's definitely. I mean, for one thing, I was gonna say is like, it's definitely not nearly as strong as like in other countries. Having family in Colombia, I see that. Well, that's one of the biggest problems is that.
It's looked down upon. That's the thing. Like, nobody really wants to have a family, and you can't blame them. It's too expensive to have a family.
But the thing is, in our countries, the extended family pitches in. You have everybody works together. So, for example, like I have a kid or something. My aunts, my uncles, they pitch in where they can. We share stuff. A lot of times, it's not frowned upon in other countries either to have
family support.
Yeah, and sometimes even the parents still live there. The grandparents still live with the parents, and they all pitch in together and they make it work. I mean, I see how I see it is that I don't see why this like mentality, this idea, like in this country, where you have to be like the lone gun. You have to be the lone. You have to be the sheriff of the family. Do everything. No one can help you. No one, or else you're not like an adequate father. I think in that case, or an adequate, mother for the single moms out there. Ultimately, why is it frowned upon to have, for everybody to pitch in? And a lot of times, the grandparents will have, a lot of times the grandparents will have a decent amount of money and they don't help out their kids, take care of their kids. To me, I see that's like unacceptable. It shouldn't happen. And in a country that's civilized, like America, it seems like we're backwards than a lot of third world countries on a lot of stuff. It's like, they talk about how hard it is here in America to have a family that actually works, but in Colombia they get paid way less money than us, and they still make it work somehow. I mean, it's definitely much harder than it used to be because back in 1979 stuff, you could pay for college with a summer job. That just puts in perspective. You could pay with a lot of stuff was so much cheaper, and the wages are practically still the same. People are still making like $10 an hour. They were making $10 an hour back in the 70s. The problem was that back in 1979, $10 was like 3-4 times more money. But that's inflation for you. So, I mean, there's a lot of economic factors that have caused the decline. I mean, I know what you're probably going to say, and what you're going to say that the media has contributed to the, I guess you could say, the decline of it, with the...
oh, yeah, for sure. Like, pop culture, definitely.
But pop culture, yeah, I can agree with that. But also, what else do you think has, what would you think there's been particular artists or particular people, particular producers maybe in Hollywood that have, contributed to this, frowning upon of like the family unit as we knew it?
Yeah, Steins and whatnot.
Whoa, Beepus. And they were lucky we were like whispering, so they probably didn't even hear what you said, but...
They probably heard more than that.
Nah, they didn't.
I would just blame like a lot of rap music, like Cash Me Outside Girl. She became a millionaire.
A fucking millionaire, I know.
By just being trash. That's it. That's what being a hero is. Like Lil Peep. Remember Lil Peep?
Oh yeah, we all know Lil Peep.
He was looked as like he was up there with the Beatles. Huh? Well, I mean, my point is he was looked upon like he was Jesus. Like when he died, people were like, "Oh my God, Lil Peep." That's all right. You can like him. I don't care. But
I mean,
sets
people.
a bad example. Is my argument.
Yeah, and it's
You
mostly,
got kids now eating Tide Pods because I don't really know why they're eating
it's
Tide
because
Pods.
this whole fucking like trend culture. It's like, oh, something on the internet said that I
That's
should.
it,
Yeah,
trend culture,
yeah. Just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do. Remember, there's been all these stupid challenges. Remember that whole like what was it the Kylie Jenner challenge or whatever, where people like putting like rubber bands around their lips so they would like get like big like bloated up lips and stuff.
Sorta. I remember the cinnamon challenge and the ice bucket challenge.
Oh fuck, the cinnamon challenge. That shit was like deadly. That was like
So was eating Tide Pods.
Well, yeah, obviously, yeah. The cinnamon challenge that was stupid, and then the ice bucket challenge. I never actually did it, but that just seemed like that seemed like harmless fun, to be honest. But yeah, I can see what you mean by the trends. I mean, that was like 4 years ago. The ice bucket challenge, the cinnamon challenge, that threw me back. That's like 6-7 years ago, and yeah, there's all these stupid challenges. I remember I seen a challenge on Facebook before. I'm not even joking with you right now. It was actually the guy was like licking like a toilet bowl or something like that, and like challenging like other people to do it. I think it was actually a lady.
Oh wait, I know that one. Yeah.
Like, I was like, what the fuck? I mean, it's like, are you asking for like 20 different kinds of E. coli? Because that's how you get 20 different kinds of E. coli. I mean, that's to the level of, I guess, the internet, anything can catch on it. You know, and that's the thing is that's what's good about us, is that we're using the internet for good. You know, I've noticed you can either use the internet is such a weird place because you can either use the internet to become a total fucking moron, or you can use the internet to become a smart motherfucker. Because there's like so much free education, so much free information on there, but people don't use it. Most people are not. I mean, you can learn a language on the internet for free, which that's what I'm doing like right now.
If you look deep enough, depends where you go on the internet.
Well, shit, like just basic stuff, like yeah, like I'm not even talking about like you have to cipher through a lot of bullshit. Like when you talk about like find out what's really going on in the world, you know. It's like what we're talking about going on the chans.
Every once in a while, you get caught in loops. Like the main websites they go on is sometimes they go on Reddit, sometimes they go on Chan, sometimes they go on YouTube. Mostly they go on YouTube. Every once in a while, Facebook.
There are some good YouTubers on there that have some pretty good content about.
YouTube's being attacked though. Sadly, they're just going hard with their like content reviews or whatever. Like they're just. What's the word? Suspending people's accounts over just dumb bullshit, and YouTubers are having enough of it, so they're trying to switch platforms to like something called BitChute, which is like YouTube, which is something similar to YouTube, but not.
Well, I mean, YouTube it's censoring. We've seen this on Facebook before. I mean, I don't know what they're going to call it this time because there's getting zucked, and now there's a YouTube. I don't know what that'd be getting called. I
mean, I call it getting zucked.
Well, when did Zuck even become a term? That was that's been a term for a while, but I'm like trying to think when that actually is like when they could pinpoint when being Zucked actually became like a thing. I don't because it's like they know they started cracking down on a lot of pages way back. Like I remember there was some pro-Palestinian pages I used to go on that like they got eliminated. There's a lot of a lot. There was some anonymous pages also that got tackled way back in 2013. I guess 2013 is like when I first started getting involved. This is when that's when the radio show started. That's when I first did the. I first started posting on Facebook about these topics. I remember a page in particular, Worldwide Freedom, when they got tackled. I was like, what the fuck? I mean, they had a lot of people, and they had some pretty good content. I remember that page that I wonder if did they ever bring it back up? Because they suspended it for the longest ass time, and I don't think they ever brought it back up. I remember back in 2013, that was the first big conspiracy page on Facebook was Conspiracy Watch, and they sort of brought it back up. They have 46,000 likes now. They had 3 million before they were blocked back in this is back in 2013. They got blocked. They had And I mean, they had literally like 1 million likes, and like I saw their post all over the place, and they had some pretty good content. I mean, the guy, I forgot what his name, Thomas Redenberg or whatever. I mean, some people didn't like him. And
I've heard of him.
Yeah, he's the one that had like one of the biggest conspiracy pages on Facebook for a while, and then it fell off because Facebook wanted to be shitty, and that's how that ended. And by the way, we're reaching the end of the show here, so we got a couple minutes. So I just wanted to thank everyone who tuned in and put up with some interruptions during the show. I'm glad that you guys tuned in tonight, and I'm glad that everyone has enjoyed our new co-host here. It's very nice to have a new co-host, and Beepa Schultz is. By the way, if you try going looking him up on Facebook, he's probably gonna get sucked by the end of the week.
Well, let me look him up. Don't look me up.
Don't look him up. There won't even be a page probably by the end of the week to find. But you could look me up on Facebook. That is more than fine. I definitely like having a lot of subscribers, friends on Facebook. Chris Jackson Rojas, look me up on there and get to your friend request. I'm going to probably do a little bit. I'm going to be doing some live streams just like throughout the week just to fill in the time. I know I've said that many times and actually never got to doing it, but I got a little bit more time, I guess you could say. A little bit more time has been cleared up than I used to, and so I don't have to wait till 9:30 at night to actually go and do that. I can do that any time of the day, and I'm going to have a lot of time where I'm just going to be bored sitting around my house, so perfect time to get on there and start podcasting. And they'll be on Facebook Live, though. And by the way, get ready. Be on the lookout. Voice of Rebellion Radio is moving to the visual platform. It's going to be on YouTube. We're going to be on YouTube Live starting next week, hopefully. We're going to have with graphics, all kinds of visuals. And we may do the show earlier. We may record. And then we might be doing it on our Blog Talk Radio page on Stable Radio on Thursday or Friday, potentially. I was thinking Thursday or Friday. We might put the recording, but you'll still get the same stream on UCY.tv next week, and that will have with the graphics, that will have with the all the visuals to look at. We're gonna have different charts, different citations, and stuff like that. To actually, that I'm not just spewing something out. And I think I've gotten a lot better at that because I remember I used to just ramble on, never really cite anything, and I just put this little disclaimer at the beginning of the show, and I still put the disclaimer is that probably 90% of what I'm saying is right. And the big 10%. Whenever I talked about like the Bolsheviks back in the day, and I was actually for the Bolsheviks. Now that I've like woken up to what that was all about, I like cringe at probably at listening to any of my shows from like 2015. That's like when I changed and realized what that was really about. And that, like I said, that Russia's been a target of foreign influence for a long time, and that goes all the way back to then. But that's a little. We'll get on that in a different show. We got about 1 more minute left. If tune in, the next show coming up is Nathan Frazier. Nathan Frazier with livefree.fm with all your learning about marketing and all your I could probably put in some anarcho-capitalist stuff in there into the show as well. But we all got our different viewpoints, and Nathan Frazier is a great podcaster, so definitely give him stay tuned to UCY.tv if you have the time. If not, I thank all of you for tuning in. We are signing off for tonight. This is me and Beepa Schultz.
Hello.
You have a great night.
And no return, and nobody can stop it. Malcolm Little, when he knelt before Elijah Muhammad, the comet that killed the dinosaurs, changing the earth. They love to criticize, they always say I changed for the worse. Like prescription pills when you misusing them, nigga. The Templar Knights when they took Jerusalem, nigga, and figured out what was buried under Solomon's temple, Al-Aqsa. The name is not coincidental. I know too much, the government is trying to murder me. No coming back like cutting your wrists open vertically. How could the serpent be purposely put in charge of the country? Genetic engineered sickness spread amongst me. My people are so hungry that they attack without reason, like a fucking dog ripping off the hand that feeds him. Immortal technique is treason to the Patriot Act. So come and get me, motherfucker, cause I'm not coming back. This is the point from which I can never return. And if I back